Hello, thinkers! Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Ponderlings podcast. I'm your host, Josh, and joining me today is my wife, Mallory.
Hi.
And so normally we would just kind of get right into the discussion from now, but since it's the first episode, I figured I should probably kind of explain what I hope to do with this program and what a Ponderling is. So to start off, missed having intellectual conversations. I used to, at this old job I had, we would talk after like the last hour of the day. We would do some paperwork and kind of get data set and figure it out. But while we did that, we would usually have some really thought-provoking discussions. And so I kind of wanted to recreate that, especially now in this like pandemic time.
Weird time.
Yeah.
Lonely.
Yeah. And
isolating.
Do you need to talk about it? Like, dang. But I figured Mal probably is kind of annoyed with just talking to me when it comes to intellectual conversation. Wow, no sarcasm there. I thought it'd be fun and to see, because I've always really enjoyed how people come up with some of the stuff they think and what they believe in. And that being said, I also want to mention, like, this is a safe place. You know, everyone is different in their own way. They think differently, and they shouldn't be criticized for that. Everyone's welcome, no matter, you know, gender, race, sexual orientation, whatever. Like, everyone deserves and has the right to have a safe and happy life.
We love inclusion.
Right, exactly. Yes. Yeah. So, and then with that out of the way, I kind of want to talk about, you know, what this is. And so it can kind of vary. Like today I'm going to talk about a paradox that a philosopher named Plutarch came up with years ago. But I don't want this to be only a philosophy kind of thing. It's just anything really interesting that I find. Right now, I'll probably choose the discussions, but I hope to one day allow listeners to suggest things and do it that way. Mm-hmm. And, am I forgetting anything? Ponderling, I guess.
Yeah, what is a ponderling, Josh? Let us know.
Nice segue.
I don't know what it is.
So, it's just a random word that I made up. It mixes ponder, which is just thinking, and we're all earthlings, and so I just mixed it together, ponderling. So it's literally anybody can think.
That's all of us.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so
everyone, again, we heart inclusion.
Yeah, there you go. Nice. And so I came up with that, but since I haven't asked anyone, I figured I'd refer to you guys as thinkers or listeners, and because you're all intellectual people and would rather be asked before I just kind of label you. So that kind of goes there. Before I go on, I'll introduce myself a little bit, give you some background, and then I'll have Mallory introduce herself too. So like I said, I'm Josh. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's degree in creative writing. I enjoy writing stories, playing video games, watching TV, playing soccer, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I have a dog named Bella. She's just curled up right now, being really good. Normally she's yapping.
Surprising.
Yeah, I know. Mm-hmm. She's usually talking more than I am.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's kind of it for me. What about you, Ma?
Yeah, I'm Mallory, Josh's wife. Let's see. I have a bachelor's in psychology and a master's in developmental psychology, so I love those intellectual conversations too, but I also love TV, so this is why it's great for Josh, because I feel like sometimes he needs an outlet for intellectual conversations, and by the end of the day, I'm like, let me just watch The Office. So, anyway, so super excited. Like I said at the beginning, these are weird times and kind of isolating, so I feel like everybody's had to get creative with their conversations and outlets for activities and creativity, so super excited to be here and be able to do this with you.
Yeah, I appreciate you joining. And it's just interesting that you say that. Like, there's so many people right now starting podcast or
it's pretty
YouTube
cool.
channel. Yeah, it is cool. Hopefully it works out. If you're listening to us, we succeeded. We were able to get it up.
Yeah, it took a couple times.
Yeah, this is the fourth time now.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so we'll see. And then that's kind of all I had as far as, like, you know, getting to know, that kind of stuff. If there's more you want to know, just let us leave a comment or something, and we'll
hit us up.
Yeah. So with that being said, I'll move on to the discussion for today. So the information that I got from this, I got from a book by Paul Kleinman called Philosophy 101, From Plato and Socrates to Ethics and Metaphysics, an essential primer on the history of thought.
Woo!
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
Long title.
It's a really good book. It has lots of different things to think about, and it's mainly just, philosophy 101. Yeah. But it's super cool, and in this, he has a chapter titled The Ship of Theseus, and that's what we're going to talk about. And so in that, he mentions the creator, Plutarch, which is a real fancy name, I guess.
Not from the Hunger Games.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize that. Maybe that was where they came from.
Maybe.
I'll have to do some research on that, yeah. But, anyway, so I'm going to first kind of talk about the basic, like, what this paradox is. And then also in the book, he talks about how Thomas Hobbes adds in it. I'll do that, and then I'll kind of put my own spin on it, which is what I'm really excited about.
Should we first explain what a paradox is? Do we know what a paradox is?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. So a paradox is pretty much something that kind of goes in a circle, basically. Like, that's the best definition
How you understand it, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Would you say
no,
that's...
I honestly don't know what a paradox is, so I was honestly asking.
So, yeah, it's basically just something that's contradictory. Like, there's multiple ways to solve. There's no one pure answer, and it just kind of comes in a full circle.
Okay.
So that's not like the technical definition. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so
that's the Josh definition.
That's the Josh definition, yeah. Little
Joshism.
TM Joshism. Yeah. But yeah, so how the Ship of Theseus goes is, and I'm going to add some stuff here. He says like point A, point B. I thought that was kind of confusing, so I'm going to give him names. I'm a storyteller after all.
Ooh,
so
what are their names?
No one gets named. There's the Ship of Theseus and its crew.
Oh, okay.
And so they leave port, let's say Genesis, beginning, and they sail, I don't know, from a different destination. They get to Port Revelation, the end.
Oh, okay. I see.
Okay. And through that time, the crew decides that they're going to rip pieces of the ship off and replace it with new ones.
Okay.
And so from the beginning of the journey, from Port Genesis to Port Revelation, by the time they end, all the original pieces of the ship are gone.
Okay.
And so Plutarch asks, is the Ship of Theseus that began the journey at Port Genesis the same as the Ship of Theseus that ended at Port Revelation?
Oh, because it has a whole...
Oh, yeah, all the pieces are gone.
Old pieces are gone when it... Yeah. Like the pieces when they left Port Genesis.
Yes.
When they arrived to Port Revelation, it's all new.
Yes.
Okay.
So what do you think?
Interesting. So maybe this doesn't relate at all, but what I think about is the difference between like a house and a home, and how like the difference between a house and a home is like the house is the outside and the home is the inside. So like what makes a home is the people on the inside, right?
Right.
So maybe what makes the ship is the people, like the crew, right?
Right.
So the crew's all the same.
Yes, the crew did not leave or switch in any way. They're the same.
So is it the same boat? Because I feel like, or ship. I don't know what
they're
the difference is between a boat and a ship.
You can call it a vessel too.
Vessel. I don't know. Because if you're coming from a purely logical standpoint.
Okay.
And you take the definition of a ship, which is probably like something that you sail in or something.
Something
like
floats on water, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Then, I don't know, I guess logically it would be different.
Yeah, and you're thinking about it the same way. And this is one of the ways, if you look at it in a materialistic way, if you don't take the people into consideration, the Ship of Theseus that started in Port Genesis is completely different from the one that started Port Revelation. I don't know what you would call it, and you'd have to give it a whole new name. But if you also thought of that way, as soon as you took one piece off, it'd be different. So throughout that whole journey, each one would be like a frame.
Different.
So that's kind of like this whole different dimensional thing, and that's a whole nother topic. But if you think of it in that way, then yeah. But then there's also like, so I really like that analogy too, the house versus the home thing. I didn't think about that. Please tell me this did. Okay. The computer went out. Sorry. But if you do thinking about it though, and this is where like I want to go into more detail as we get further, but we give things identity.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like you said, the crew on there, they've identified this vessel, the ship that they're on, as Theseus.
Mm-hmm.
So until like it crashes or sink, like is unusable, or all the members of the crew die, and the story doesn't get passed on, it's Theseus. That's just how it is. That's an identity. But before I go into that, I want to kind of do the next phase of it. And so Thomas Hobbes later on adds the thing. So this time, the ship, same thing, leaves Port Genesis, travels to Port Revelation, replaces pieces. But there's another ship that's trailing it, so it's falling behind. And as it throws pieces off the ship, the other ship behind it takes those pieces and uses it to repair their own ship. Mm-hmm. So now the old Theseus ship pieces
resourceful
are now make up this new ship.
Okay.
And for purposes, let's call it Doppelganger.
Okay.
And so the Doppelganger now has all the original Theseus parts, but the Theseus has all new parts. Mm. Which ship is the Ship of Theseus?
Probably the Doppelganger. Wait. See, even when I said that, like my mind was like, not really though. So I feel like you can make yourself believe each answer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you can. That's what makes the paradox.
It like just depends on going in a circle. Okay, all right. So anyway, but yeah. So I think again, logically, we discussed that the Theseus, logically, if you think about it purely from like
a materialistic
standpoint, we decided that it was a whole different ship, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So then, if we think about it from that perspective, then yes, the Doppelganger would be the Theseus.
Yes, and then the Theseus would be something
else.
But again, it would also go to that point where, like I said earlier, each time a piece was taken off, it'd be a different ship if you looked at it that way because of all the
that's true
possibilities.
So it would have been the original.
Only when it's completed.
Only when it was completed.
Yeah.
Before that, it could have been a million different things.
Right, and that doesn't even take into consideration, like, the environment and other things that happen to it. Like, does that change what it is, too, based on the experience? So that goes back to that identity thing.
This is almost like that, it's very similar to that. Maybe this is a paradox, too. Like, if a tree falls in the woods.
Yeah, it is.
Does it make a sound?
Yeah, unless you're there. I know, of course it does. Everyone knows it makes a sound. Like... Just because you can't hear it, just by the laws of physics.
But like I said, I could also make myself
believe. You could, yes.
The other version,
and you could create all kinds of reasons. But that's fun. It's fun to think and do stuff. But now, I kind of want to put a different twist on it and kind of how...
Twist it up.
So I want to focus on the identity portion of things. So we create an identity for everything, even ourselves. Mm-hmm. And it makes you wonder, okay, then what? Because basically this question asks, who am I? And there's so many philosophers throughout history that have thought, trying to do this stuff. Ego, it's like, ego, I'm going to butcher it.
Oh, the ego and the
super
ego?
No, that's
Freud.
What are you talking about? But, why can't I remember his name now?
Which one? What is he?
I think, therefore I am.
Oh, I don't know.
Why can't I remember the philosopher's name? Anyway, it's super obvious, and I normally always know the name.
10 points for whoever can
there you go.
Find it and mention it.
That's going to drive me crazy. I'll remember here in a second. But, so basically, like, taking that, what makes me, you, and so it comes down to that thing, like I mentioned kind of when we were talking about the Theseus, how it is the ship because they put an identity to it, until... they no longer use that ship. Like the original crew's gone. Mm-hmm. Let's say they don't pass it on. It just rots and disappears. The ship is basically dead. Like it doesn't exist anymore. And then they'll remember it maybe. Oh, I cherish those times with my buddies.
Those were good times.
Right, when we were fighting off scurvy and everything. And like on the Theseus. And then in that moment, it's real again. And like you can... And this kind of goes on another tangent too, but like traveling, like we kind of time travel every day. Like you can put yourself in the future, you can put yourself in the past, and you're in the present right now. But that's another discussion too. But Boom. But kind of getting back to the identity thing. So until like they die, it's basically alive because some version, some person. But like again, each person has a different identity for that thing. So they define it as, oh, it's the Theseus because it had,
okay,
I don't know, gray sails.
yeah,
And someone else was like, no, that doesn't make it the Theseus.
I like your sails.
Yeah. But some people could say it's Theseus because it had this, when you walked on a certain plank, it creaked or something.
Yeah.
And then if you replace it. So it's just interesting how there's all these different identities. And then it also comes back in history, because if you think about it, like, we are taught this certain thing and what people do, and how that affects the world is what we create this identity of.
Okay.
But the people that we are learning about can't verify or deny that that identity is true.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, like, these people that we hold up or whatever are completely different from the actual versions. And that's the same thing with, if you think of famous people too.
Yeah,
Like, you
so
see,
like how we perceive the famous person is not how they perceive themselves.
right, and even then, like, they could also perceive themselves as, like, different in certain roles. Like, when they're on the TV, they have to be this certain thing, but then when they're in their own and no cameras are around, they're
Your identity fluctuates based on your scenario or situation.
Right. And it's just an interesting, and like, the movie Coco kind of goes into this. And so in that, there's this character, Hector, who is, like, there's two deaths, basically. Like, there's the physical death when you're gone, and then your spiritual, and it kind of goes on that thing where if once the family forget about them, they're gone forever. And so he wants Miguel, the main character, to put a picture of Hector on the ofrenda.
So that they're remembered and can live on in the spiritual.
Right, yeah, and remain alive. And so it's just interesting how that works. And again, it's like a paradox, because even thinking that, someone else could think, well, that's not true. Like, once you're gone, you're gone. And like you said there, like, your identity is different between everybody. But it also brings up, like, this weird thing. And I was thinking about this while I was coming up with the script and everything, which I've kind of got off track and embarrassed myself now since I can't remember.
No, you're fine.
Why can't I remember the philosopher's name?
Oh, the philosopher's name. That's okay. We made it interesting. They're going to get 10 points.
That's true. But I was thinking when I was doing that, you know, the, like, phantom limb, like the pain, like,
when you lose an appendage, but you can, like,
still
feel it.
And I came up with this theory. I don't think it's just a theory, but, like, there's no scientific evidence behind it, so forgive me if he doesn't know about.
He's not a scientist.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor either. So but it made me think, like, does that pain come because this identity of ourselves is a full body, and when that is gone,
you have to develop
your identity.
A new identity.
So your brain still thinks that you as that person.
Yeah.
So, like
if they're picturing themselves,
right,
like their identity, it's them with all their appendages.
Right. Yeah, and it's just, like, an interesting thing too, because it also goes to that thing where, like, taking it back to the Ship of Theseus, as we age, like, my child's form of myself is still the same as me now. Like, we all can agree about that, but it's not, because, like, the little me, I look nothing like that. Yeah. Like, I've physically changed throughout this time, and based on what we talked earlier, that would make me a completely new person. But it's not. We know that's not the case, and because we can remember those things in our mental capacity, and our mind matures too, and then new things and do all that stuff. But it's really interesting, like, how you can take all that's the premises and stuff and kind of go about that. But is there anything else you'd like to add?
I don't know. Just, like, thinking about all that, maybe if you're talking about the human person, you know, because I feel like from when we are younger and are able to be self-aware to, you know, when we die, you know, maybe our identities don't exactly change, they just envelop our old one. You know what I'm saying? Like, our identities just build. Like, our identities are just growing with us.
It's like adapting, basically. And that's,
like, evolving.
excuse me. Oh, man.
Coronavirus.
Descartes.
Ah,
That's it. Oh, gosh.
You still get 10 points,
Yeah.
listeners, if you knew that.
But yeah, going back to what you said, yeah, like the human species as a whole, that's what's made us thrive, is adapting. And so it makes sense that a key part of us...
I mean, that's what we're doing now during this whole situation, adapting.
Mm-hmm.
Humans have a good ability to adapt.
Yeah.
So everyone out there, even if you don't think you're flexible,
finding hope and stuff during these times is tough. And so hopefully, kind of moving the segue, as we continue to grow, we can kind of build a community for ourselves and help each other get through these tough times. And even after that, we can kind of grow and expand and help each other out, because that's what I really want to do with this channel.
that's what you wanted to do with your writing.
Yeah.
That's just what you want to do, period. So.
I want to show people that I want to help people think and about life in different ways, and to show them that, you have a purpose, you matter, and that how you interact with the world. Like, we can all agree that life's pretty rough. So, why make it tough on each other? The best thing we could do is help each other out and lift each other up. So.
Like that.
Yeah, thank you. So, again, this is kind of different than normally would be, because it's that first episode. Next time we'll kind of go and right into the discussion, maybe go over some comments and things. But thanks for joining us for this first time.
Yeah.
And Mallory, thank you for joining.
And tell us what you think.
Yes,
I'm super interested to hear everybody's thoughts.
Yeah, I'm sure it's annoying to hear people say, "Oh, share it, comment, do that," but it really helps. You have no idea, and who knows? Maybe you can help someone find it and then make better. They'll bring some ideas,
and you probably think about it in a way different way than either of us did.
Yeah.
So super interesting.
Yeah. So again, thank you, and that ends the first one. So enjoy the rest of your week. I hope to do this every week, and always stay pondering. Bye.
Bye.